This is it. Year 12 is it. This is the moment that you can be assured of. You can't do anything about the last 10 minutes, the last day, the last year. You can't do much about the next 10 or whatever. This is the minute you know about. This is the second you know about. Make the most of it. I'm reminded of a story. It's an interesting story that a friend of mine told me. He said he attended a philosophy class. In the philosophy class, he said from experience, something like 20% of the students would drift to the front of the room, the lecture theatre, and they'd be involved in debating, talking, interacting. They'd be keen about their subject. He said the other 80% would drift to the back of the room, and they'd be disinterested, not really concerned, not really watching, not really participating. Now, the lecturer said for those 80% who didn't want to be in the class, he said all they had to do was show up. Sit quietly, read a book, and listen to their Walkman, listen to the Walkman, and just not bother those who really wanted to be interested, who were in the front, the 20%. And he said that he would give that 80% in the class a C grade. They would pass, just because they turned up. One of the students down the front put his hand up and said, "Are you serious? Are you kidding? Just by turning up, we actually get a C grade?" And the lecturer replied, "That's exactly right." And to quote, he said, "You see, your whole life is like this. Your whole life is like this. You live in an abundant culture. We are a blessed people in a blessed land. And all you have to do is really show up and you'll get by. You'll get by." However, he said, it's those people who really involve themselves in the pursuit of learning and understanding who find satisfaction and success. And he went, "Whoa! No one's ever said that to me before." No one ever said it as clearly as that. Because until that time, he'd always been saying, "Oh, I just got to get this over with. Wait until I do year 10. Wait until I do year 11. Wait until I do year 12. Wait until I go to TAFE. Then it'll be better. Then it'll be better. Then it'll be better." So he's always waiting for it to be better. But it never got better. Until he realised that he ought to be living in the moment now and making the most of now. This is it. This is all you've got. Make the most of it. So it's really a question. Are you part of the 80% or are you part of the 20%? You could turn up and say, "Oh, well, this is really boring class. I don't really want to be here. I can think of a million things I'd rather be doing than this." And you'll put yourself immediately into the 80%. For those of you who choose, remember the gap, who choose to be in the 20%, you will be outstanding. And that's why it's easy, folks, to be successful. It is really easy in this country to be successful and elsewhere, because all you've got to do is watch what 80% of the others are doing and just move to the front of the class and be the 20%, and you'll naturally be the peak leaders. And now I don't care whether you're talking about the sports field, whether you're talking about education, whether you're talking about business, whether you're talking about science, whether you're talking about whatever, it works. Be the 20%. So let me ask you a question. Are you one of the 20% who's going to move to the front? Is that going to be your choice? And what would it take? What would it take for you to be in that top 20%? What would you have to do? What would you have to do daily? What would you have to do in class? What would you have to do with your mates? What would it take for you to be in that 20%? If you're going to show up here at school because your parents made you or your school makes you, then gee, that's going to be a waste of a year. But if you can get it to choose that, yeah, I'm going to make the most of this moment, and I'm going to make the most to get on with that teacher, who I find a little interesting, but I'm going to make the most. I'm going to make it my challenge to get on with that teacher, or this teacher, or that coordinator. And your year will change in perspective dramatically.